Beautiful people, welcome to episode 2 of the ALG podcast. And I am one of your beautiful hosts, Mr. David Roden, aka Fit D Rock. And we got next to me.
I am John Arpino, otherwise known as J Arp's Journey, and we're ready for episode 2. I don't know about
Episode,
you.
oh, I'm so excited. Episode 2 is actually about me being on the hot seat. It was first about John's story, and now I'm going to be in the hot seat. So hopefully I can keep up.
All right, you guys ready? You ready, David?
I'm ready to go. Fire away.
All right, David. Why don't you walk us through the beginning of your journey? Because I'll be honest with everyone at home, I really don't know enough about the start of your journey. It's always been you asking me questions. So why don't we start from the beginning? Take me through your early childhood. Did you battle obesity at a young age, or kind of walk me through that?
100%. So for me and my story, I definitely hit the peak of weight early.
Right.
And did I have some different metabolic issues and health issues? Yes. It's very interesting because I grew up in a very, very blessed household in every way, shape of the word. The thing that I always say is you always have this iconic thought process in your head of I'm missing something, or if I didn't have this, or if my parents were better parents, or if my blank was better, if I had more money, if some resource that was holding you back from having what you really wanted. And it's funny because I literally grew up in the most incredible, blessed upbringing you can ask for. Like my dad's a heart doctor.
Mhm.
So money and support was through the roof. Even at a young age, he used to do these things with me where, I mean, he worked a lot. So that's always a piece of the puzzle. He worked 80 hours plus a week for 30 years.
God damn.
Yeah. Like no joke. We're talking when he worked on call on weekends, he'd push 100 hours in a week.
Wow.
And
Wow.
people whine about 40 hours a week. My dad would push 100 in a week and then
That's
work all
wild.
next week.
That's
I
wild.
mean, the life of an interventional cardiologist was brutal. But I mean, so support financially was there. Even with my dad when it came to like quote unquote psychological support.
Mhm.
I remember at a young age, my dad would put me up on the counter while he was like shaving. And he would say, "Hey, look that man in the mirror and tell him you love him." And like, so like I grew up in a very supportive family.
That's
My
awesome.
mother is an incredible support system. She was a stay-at-home mom, and so she was always around. I grew up in a 7,000 square foot house with an indoor basketball court, and so when it comes down to what you would say the resources of life,
Mhm.
support systems, money, time, I had it all going for me.
Right.
Um, there were some hiccups in there. I have a brother who at the time was a couple years older than me, and he took a lot of effort. He
Mhm.
had some serious anger issues. He'd run around the house with a knife, and
Okay.
so for a long time, from the ages of like 12, because I was overweight. I was actually pretty much normal weight till about, I would say, first second grade, probably
Mhm.
pretty
Mhm.
normal. And then it really started packing on into like second, third, and fourth, and then fourth through high school. It really just,
So let
um,
me ask you a question. Do
yes,
you feel like that your childhood based obesity was kind of a call for attention because everything was kind of focused on your brother and maybe what was going on with your brother, and this was kind of your cry for help? Or kind of, do you think that there's any correlation at all between the two?
no. So the way I see it coming full circle, looking back on it,
Hmm.
it was with my brother needing at the time really a lot of just help.
Right.
I was the second son that I was because I had the resources we did in our
Hmm.
family. I was given a blank check, and I was given a open canvas of never being told no.
Right.
And so, I mean, you fast forward, like your parents are dealing with your brother a lot, and so I was like, okay, cool, I don't care, whatever.
Hmm.
And so, what does the average young kid want? Food and video games.
Right.
And so it was, hey mom, I want a new Xbox. Got it. Hey
Right.
mom, can you go get a Costco sized bag of Reese's from the when next time I go to the grocery store? Sure. And I always had friends over too. I was obviously with the big house, so I always had the friends over. So she would pack the house with food and drinks and all this kind of stuff, not knowing that I was the primary eater of it all. It wasn't just the everyone else. And so it was. I think that the biggest thing for me was just that it was the disconnect for the longest time, because my brother was so so focused to the start. I don't think it was a cry for attention, because I mean, you don't know what you're doing to yourself at this point. I just enjoyed it. Right. And then when I hit the high school days, I was looking at my past medical records. I was 300 pounds by the time I was 14. And then I hit 400 pounds by the time I was 18.
Yep.
Through this time, it was very interesting, because being the medical background, I was pre-diabetic. I was on high blood pressure meds. I was on pre-diabetes meds. And at the same time, around 12, 13, 14, obviously you're 13, 14 years old weighing 300 pounds. Like, okay, what's medically wrong with you?
Yeah, man.
So my dad had me going to different doctors to try to figure this out. And so I had a brain scan done to see if it was like a pituitary gland thing or something. And I actually did have a cyst, or small growth of some sort on my pituitary gland.
Okay.
Where that was the primary suspect in my weight. And to the point where even I had one of my doctors tell me, "Hey, David, this may be your reality. We may be able to," these are the exact words. He's a very unique guy. He goes, "We may be able to put you in the Sahara Desert and you may not lose weight." Now, what's funny is a few after about 2-3 years of every 6 months to making sure the growth didn't grow, it didn't grow. It actually recessed and it's gone.
Oh, wow.
And so it all just kind of disappeared. But even at 18, 19 years old, I used that story. I used that because I look back at it now and I'm like, this doctor had no idea I was eating 15 to 20 drinking 15 to 20 Diet Cokes a day. I was eating a Costco-sized bag of Reese's every day. I was playing video games for 6 to 8 hours every day till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And so like the way I was treating my body, obviously it was a lot more than just a little cyst on my pituitary gland.
Right.
But we try to create stories in our head. And I even used that story up until I was 22 years old. Maybe it's the cyst. Maybe I can't control this. And so that was the early on start to like my childhood of what brought me to that point. And honestly, it's interesting because going to my childhood with it all, what's fascinating is I had quote unquote a aha moment like you did, but I didn't, because I didn't take advantage of it. It is interesting because when I was 18 years old, I was like halfway through my senior year and my body's in shambles. I was going to the chiropractor 3 days a week. My sugar levels were all wild.
Well, before we continue there, yes. I want to take you a step back for a second, because you talked before about, all the ailments, growing up, and you talked about being pre-diabetic and stuff like that. And I can, relate to a large scale on that. I was never pre-diabetic. Thank God. That was like the only thing on my laundry list wrong with me. I was never pre-diabetic, but I was that 13-year-old kid who was on high blood pressure medicine. I specifically remember a story of going over to my buddy's house, having dinner with his family, and his father bringing up, what high blood pressure medicine he was on. And I literally cocked my head and was like, "Oh, I'm on that too." Yeah, exactly. I was on lisinopril. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, I'm on lisinopril too," which kind of made it a little awkward, because like he was 45 years old and I was like 14, and I was just like, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. What milligram are you on?" But I feel like for me and maybe for you, it separated us from the pack, because, I always felt like being obese as a child kind of excelled my maturity growth, and my personality. And you would always find me hanging out more with the adults at the kids' party. You know what I mean? Like everyone would be outside playing and I'd be talking to the adults about politics and medication and this, that, and the third, because I had nothing to relate with people my age. You know, everyone my age was out playing baseball, basketball, tag, and I'm
Hmm.
sitting there taking high blood pressure medicine. So like, you know, walk me through your childhood a little bit. I just want to know what it was like really growing up and in middle school and high school of being this overweight kid and having all these ailments, because I know for me it separated me from a lot of people and it made me not have a lot in common with people my own age.
100%. So one of the things for me, I have always been the communicator, the outgoing, put in perspective, like when I was in second, third, fourth, fifth grade, when I was in the neighborhood and say one of the neighbors went to my parents
Right.
or there was some communication there, it was never, oh, you are the Roden's son.
Mhm.
It is when like that situation would come up. It's like, oh, you're David's parents.
Yeah.
Everyone knew
Right.
me, and then they were the support
Right.
of me
Second
because
fiddle to you.
second
Yeah.
fiddle
Yeah.
to me. So I was always the extreme outgoing, funny, laugh
Mhm.
kid.
I
Um,
just dumped water all over my face. I hope everyone enjoyed that.
oh yeah, woo. But I loved sports. Actually, I had asthma as well. I had
Right.
athletic induced asthma that I would say was athletic and stress induced. So I did have an inhaler,
Mhm.
but it was only like when it was only in very stressful, high athletic time, which in my athletic was a different thing. But yeah, that general
Right.
time point.
I was so
But I
jealous of you, athletic induced asthma patients. I had asthma all the time, but you guys, you were
no,
just like, oh, if I
mine was
run a
just
little bit, I
athletic.
get asthma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I played sports. Like I
Yeah.
still I was huge into sports. I played soccer. I played a lot of different sports. And
Mhm.
so I treated it relatively well. Obviously I definitely am more mature than most when it comes to, especially when the high school days hit. People, I would talk to parents more than I would kids when it come to like different
Yeah.
situations, because I would talk politics, I'd talk economics, I would talk all these different things. Um, but it was interesting because the middle school days, it didn't hit me yet.
Right.
There was, I mean, the only thing in the middle school days that really got to me was obviously I'm 300 pounds, everyone else isn't. So finding a girlfriend was pretty much impossible, because not only, and this is actually funny to me, is the fact that even when I was significantly overweight as a kid, I couldn't get myself to wrap my head around dating or flirting or talking to another overweight girl. Couldn't do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand that.
Couldn't do it. And like, it's so funny. Even in the college days, it was just like, um, I would rather not have a girlfriend than be with one that I don't think is at my that I find attractive and all this kind of stuff.
Right. I
So I
got you.
did stress heavy with relationship side of life when it came to
Mhm.
like the kid days, but not when it came to. I mean, did I get called fat and all this kind of stuff? But it didn't really affect me because again,
Right.
when you're the funny fat kid, you just owned it.
Right.
And so
Right.
when you get bullied by someone, um, it didn't really put in perspective. This is a wild story. So this kind of shows you my maturity at 18 years old. Um, when we were playing in the district finals for basketball, obviously I wasn't on the team. There's no
Mhm.
way 400-pound David was playing basketball, or at least competing at that level.
Right.
And so, but I'm in the stands, I'm in the front row, I'm screaming the student section, and there was this guy from one of our rival high schools, just a absolute a-hole. He
Right.
was cussing. He was screaming "F you" to the refs. He was screaming "F you" to our coach. It was ridiculous. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
watching our administration do nothing about it would just drive me nuts. I hate hypocrisy, and I hate,
Mhm.
like, it's like I can't say ass, but this guy can say "F you" to all the people, and he's not getting repercussions, getting kicked out, nothing. So it drove
Right.
me nuts. And so I went over to this guy, since our administration wasn't doing anything about it.
Tough
And
guy David. Here he comes.
100%, 400-pound David, and I looked at this guy and I go, "Hey man, stop disrespecting and cussing at our players. It's not
Mhm.
respectful, and I don't tolerate that."
Right.
And this 45-year-old man looks at me and goes, "All right, fatso, don't care." And the most ironic part about this was he was sitting next to a 500-pound guy.
Yes.
And so I'm like, "Ooh, he's taking out fat jokes." And I had very good composure back then, and I still do. I look over at the fat guy, and I was like, "Hey, how does it feel that you're sitting next to a guy who just being respectful to telling you to stop cussing is calling me fat?" And this fat guy's like, "I don't want to be part of this. I'm just sitting here." And it was crazy. And so I go, and then that was it. I go back down. I go back to our side of the stands, and he's standing over there, calling me fat, like doing gestures. And I'm like, this man's a savage. Like
Wow.
I'm like, but it didn't emotionally get me because I was just because again, it's like you own it so much and like
You're a bigger man than I, David. You're a bigger man than I.
and then not to mention this, I was gonna go back again, and then administration came to me and yelled at me for going over there to do their job. Classic.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But the reason why I bring that up was I was never influenced by people around me for what they called me. I was by far my biggest bully. I got
Right.
on myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I was never influenced by others on that standpoint. And growing up as a kid, I I figured out ways to be able to have fun with my friends and make it work, even with
Yeah.
my size.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
you just figure out ways to do it.
You hack that
Um,
life, you know?
yeah. And so I really didn't, it was completely benign to me until honestly my senior year. I just rolled with it until senior year. It really all just flowed in and was like, oh my God, what
Because you
did I
didn't
just do to myself?
accept the fact that you were overweight. Because I know for a while
Yeah.
that was me. I didn't I mentally didn't accept it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
This it's funny how you justify things. So for example, this was like probably my junior senior year, the first time I ever stepped on the scale from the doctor at 400 pounds.
Mhm.
I was like, oh wow, like that's fascinating.
Uh-huh.
But I wanted to see how people saw me.
Right.
And so I went to my buddies and I went to people at school and I was like, hey guys, how much do you think I weigh? And they were
That's
like, I
always a
don't know.
fun question. That's a
Oh,
fun
it's
question.
a dangerous question because
Yeah.
it's kind of like when a girl asks you how old they are. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna say young because no one wants to hear that they're 40.
Right.
Um, and so they were like, I don't know, like 300 pounds, 310 pounds, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool. I go back home to my mom that day, and I'm like, Mom, I look pretty good for 400 pounds because all my buddies and all the people at school think I'm 300 pounds. I must look really good for 400.
I played that game with myself for a long
I'm like,
time.
what? I look back at it now. I'm just like, it is crazy how
Yeah,
you
I'm
can.
400, but I'm a slim 400. You
Gosh,
know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
my man boob to stomach ratio is perfect.
It really brings out my five chins, ma. Like if you
Exactly.
look at me from this angle.
Yeah, it's like I don't look 400 pounds, so
No,
it's like
no.
everything's gonna be fine.
Exactly.
But yeah, and then it really hit me my senior year because my body just
Yeah.
couldn't handle it. The physical and mental told it all because I had to sleep a lot more to deal
Mhm.
with the day. My back was always sore, all this kind of stuff, and then because of it, my grades plummeted. I
Yeah.
went from like a 3.5 plus to a 1.9,
Nice.
and it dropped so significant. But I was always the facade of everything was put together. And
Right.
so my senior year when I was on the golf team, I shouldn't have competed because I didn't have a 2 point.
Hmm.
But the coach didn't see me as an issue to check my grades, and so he never did. So they never knew. Same thing with administration. Everyone I just kind of fell through the cracks of
Fell
like
through the
where I
crack. Yep.
was, because I had such a persona
Yep.
that I had it all together,
Yep.
but in reality I was in shambles.
Yep.
And so my grades were plummeting, my health was plummeting, and it's crazy to think that I got this low. But I'll never forget because I didn't think I was going to go to college. Like I thought I was going to have to go to a CC or something. And
Hmm.
when your dad's a doctor, your uncle's a prestigious lawyer, your mom's a nurse,
Yeah.
and the school I went to is very. If you don't go to college, even if you go to a CC, you're a freaking loser. That
Hmm.
was the school I went to, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna have to go to a CC. Like, my this is not good. And so I saw just um, so much pain and so much failure in me. I felt so
Right.
stuck that honestly, I almost ended my life twice senior year of high school.
Really.
No one knew. No, like like we're talking. It was
Wow.
crazy because literally, I look back on it today, and I had a hot shower in my, in my custom marble, my ensuite bedroom with a custom marble shower,
Hmm.
and I'm laying on the ground in it with a pair of scissors to my wrist, trying to put the power to do it because I just was like, I felt trapped. I felt there was no way out of it.
Wow.
And because I mean, all I saw was I was 400 pounds. I was not going to be able to go to college. All I saw was failure out of myself.
Hmm.
And it's crazy how I never went through with it. I never actually hurt myself in any way physically. But it just goes to show you how you can literally have it all,
Hmm.
but not see any of it.
What were your thoughts? If you can kind of like express those, you don't have to if you
No,
don't want to. I
100%.
understand, but I want to know what you were thinking in those moments.
Honestly, it was very simple. I always say like that kind of realm. I only saw failure, and I only saw the future of more failure and pain. That was it.
What stopped you? Like what made you not commit
I don't
besides
know.
the fear?
I
Yeah.
literally couldn't tell you. Just not. Yeah, I just didn't do it. I just never fully pulled the trigger. I couldn't tell you why. I mean, God had a
Yeah.
better plan for me.
Amen.
And so, and I look back on it and I don't regret it. I don't take it because a lot of people get judgy over stuff like that. I don't judge
Right.
it. It,
Right.
it. it was where it was. I find it fascinating now looking back on it because I'm just like, it just goes to show you how good your life can actually be. You look at the reality of your life.
Right.
I had all the financial support in the world. I
Hmm.
had my senior graduation party was with one of my best friends, Phil, and we had a joint senior graduation party. And between the two of us, we had over 1,000 people, 800 to 1,000 people at my house throughout the day.
That's crazy.
We had three high schools in my school district, and I was known at all three high schools. And so literally I had kids from Forest Hills Central, Forest Hills Eastern, Forest Hills Northern, all at my graduation party. I was loved and admired by everyone.
Yes.
I
I
had
can
all
see
the
it.
resources in the world, but I didn't see it for myself.
It's crazy how we create that persona, those two personas.
100%.
The one that happens when we're by ourselves and the one that we project to everyone around
hmm
us.
I call it your public, private, and secret self.
Yeah.
And until your public, private, and secret self are in congruency, you're the same person you are publicly as the same person you are privately, as the same person you are secretly. You're gonna have stress and anxiety.
Yep.
But when you actually put those three together, you create some flow to your life.
Exactly. Now, would
And
you say that was your rock bottom?
that was the whole thing. Yes, that was my rock bottom, but I didn't change.
Right.
I didn't really change. So I got into college. I went
Hmm.
to Central Michigan University, and I went through the phases. And
Hmm.
so my my freshman year, I went to random. I was in a random dorm, like just
Right.
random people. And one of my roommates, Troy, was one of the top runners in the state, which is so funny. But he's a huge gamer too, so it worked out perfectly. And what's crazy is my freshman year, we had made a bet that I couldn't work out for 30 days straight.
Okay.
And I was like, I can do it. And this is where I talk about my book, where I'm like, when you're 400 pounds,
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of having people go straight into strength training
Hmm. Hmm.
because your body's not ready for it.
No.
Your
No.
body's just not. You just need to move the body more to burn some calories to get some fat off.
Right.
And so I went straight into trying to strength train, and within 15 days, my body was in such shambles. I would wake up with Charlie horses in my hamstrings and quads while I was sleeping. I'd be like,
Yeah.
and all my roommates were like laughing like 3 a.m. at like how much pain I was in. And I quit.
I used to call those the oh my gods
oh, 100%
because
brutal.
that's what it was. Oh my God.
No, nothing. We're talking, I would get such bad cramps from just playing video games. I get cramps in my hands. Like it was brutal.
Yeah.
And so I created there was so much pain to strength training because I pushed myself too quick, that I just couldn't handle the pain. And I quit. And
Gotcha.
so my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I gained 20, lose 20, I didn't even really look at the number, to be honest,
Right.
but this is the general thing. I just floated around 400 pounds.
So
Um,
what made you get serious? Like, what really put you on your journey?
That's the thing. And so I didn't have a rock bottom point from my transformation. It was my junior year of college. I decided that med school just wasn't for me.
Gotcha.
It came down to, I looked at the most people just don't look at the whole variables. I've always been a big variable guy, like looking at all the nuances of something and
Mm-hmm.
making the best decision you can, but except for my own health, which is so funny. And so like, I'm like, okay, cool. Do I want to be a doctor? Well, there's certain things about it I like. I love the fact of making the money you make.
Right.
But I also saw from my dad's perspective just how many hours your work schedule, it's just, and I just came to the conclusion from that. I don't care how much money you make. If you're a slave to your job, you're a slave to your job. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just not what I wanted. So I was like in this kind of transition period, my junior year of college, I was like, I don't know what to do. And so, and at the same time, my dad's pushing me to get a job of some sort to help support my own financialness. Cause at this point he's still doing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, all right, I got to do something. And this is going to make you laugh. I don't know if you've heard this part. I had a random person from a politics class I took, poli-sci class, basically hit me up and say, "Hey man, I got a business opportunity for you. You know where this is going."
Go ahead.
I got hooked into a network marketing company called Vima.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it was this, I love it to this day. I mean, the company actually got shut down. But what it did was the people that were in that group with me,
It was
Luke
an
and
MLM.
it was an MLM.
Okay.
And I still love MLMs to this day, but it's a crazy because it's just crazy how I was in this transition period, and the biggest thing, accountability. When I got into this group, they were all heavily motivated, accountable. If you're in our group, you're setting goals, you're reading books,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna develop yourself into a better person. And so the people, like the guys I was with at the time, the first book I read, they pushed me to read, was a book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Okay.
And that book changed my whole perspective of life, where we always say this, the reason why I never lost 200 pounds, the reason why I never changed my body was I saw I had to lose 200 pounds. And I was just like, there's just no freaking way I'm losing 200 pounds. There's just not a friggin' chance that I'm going to lose 200 pounds.
Exactly.
And so I was like, so I never tried. That's why, like, when people say stuff, I'm going to try. No, you're not. You're not going to really try because you don't believe it's possible. So you're never
Mm-hmm.
really going to take the actions what it takes. And so that book is like, your life is not, it's not, do you go to Dartmouth or do you go to college or not go to college? It's not, the quality of your life is not those types of decisions. The quality of your life is, what is your daily habits of the food you eat? What are the daily habits of how you treat your body? What are the daily habits of what you're putting in your mind?
Right.
The compound effect of a small thing over a long period of time makes a drastic difference. And so I was like, okay, the book was like, okay, you want to lose 200 pounds? I was like, yeah, that'd be cool, but I don't believe it's possible. What's a goal that you truly believe you can hit, but that excites you?
That's right.
And honestly, it was 2 pounds. My only belief system was on 2 pounds. And so I was like, I'm going to lose 2 pounds this week. And I just put my head down. I was like, I was 410. And I was like, I'm going to be 408 by the end of the week. And boom, I hit it. I was like, cool, great. 406. Boom, cool. 404. And literally for the first 50 pounds, I took it week by week, just focusing on 2 pounds a week.
That's right.
And when I stepped on the scale at down 50 pounds, it was just like, I'm changing my whole friggin' life. That was my switch. My switch happened when I lost about 50 pounds just through just focused effort. And then I was like, I'm going to change everything about myself. I'm going to read books on how to develop my habits, my beliefs.
You're making me so happy, David. You're making
everything.
me so happy.
What?
I said you're making me so happy because this is what I talked about on the last episode that we recorded. The gains in between, my whole mantra.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? With the little bit of just hacking at the rock, hacking at the rock. And then eventually you're going to make that sculpture, but it's just that little bit. And
exactly.
We have to all learn that.
And everyone's sweet spot's different. And it goes off of what we just last episode is just what you were saying with setting a goal. It's like, one of the things I talk about now is just like, I want to lose some weight. That was the classic line that you always hear. I said to myself, I want to lose weight. What is
Mhm.
it? Go to the bathroom, you lose weight. What do you
Right.
mean you want to lose weight? That's not exciting. That's not what is a measurable, impactful goal that's actually going to put you in a position to take action,
Right.
to physically take action. And so, and at that point when I lost about 50 pounds, I was just like, I'm a learning fiend, and I dropped my ego, and I was like, wow, there's so much of life I don't know, but there are so many people out there that can help me. And so I got into huge. I was reading a book a week. I was reading audios. I got into neurolinguistic associations. I got into all types of that realm to create new habits, create new beliefs in myself. And from that point, when I lost about 50, was then all of a sudden I went whoa, and I lost 150. I lost another 100 in about a year later. And
So what were some
so
of those tools that you implemented that
so the
that
big
took you from that 50 pounds to 150 pounds and so on?
Yeah. So a couple big things to me, and what's really cool with the way I lost the weight, especially,
Mhm.
is I did because the transition from I was in Vima in that company until 1 year past I graduated, and then it got quote unquote shut down for being a scam. Then they
Mhm.
beat the FTC,
Oh,
and
they
then
did?
they did. But the issue was their name was so tarnished that they just couldn't come back from it.
Gotcha.
And so they pivoted and all this kind of stuff. Um, but in that sequence of events, I did the way I started was carb cycling. That's how I started.
Gotcha.
Carb cycling was how I started I would do like 2 high carb days, 3 low carb days, and I would fluctuate my carbs, obviously by eating to my calories and all this kind of stuff. But that was the gist of where I started. And then farther into my transformation, I did just straight keto, and I
Mhm.
cut out the carbs completely. And I went keto for a while, and then and from that point, I was heavy into keto up until I got down to um, about the 240 pound range,
Mhm.
where I would eat about I would say my macros is probably like 200 and because then I got into macro counting because you got to know like for example you can't just for example keto it's like you can be keto all you want but if you're eating 10,000 calories of bacon and cream cheese you're
Right.
not going to lose weight.
Right.
It's effective for the sake of it helps with you when you get into keto, you don't feel hungry as often because your sugar levels level out, your insulin levels level out, and so that's what helped me a lot because I was so all
Right.
over the place, my sugar and insulin, and
Mhm.
so it just isn't good, and so it just helps level you out. And then after my 2 extra skin removal surgeries, then I was the same position as you. I looked just wiry.
Mhm.
I look just kind of small and I'm like, I'm a
Didn't
big
like it.
chested, big hipped person and
Yeah.
I still look kind of goofy. So then I got into strength training, which brought me back to carb cycling, which brought me back to like that kind of whole realm to build on some more muscle
Right.
in that sense. Um, but the biggest thing for me within it all, what's fascinating to me is now I do P90X, I do all these different programs, but the same programs that I couldn't commit to and my dad bought me at 18 and 17 and 16, I'm utilizing now and it's actually working. But what changed? It
Right.
was my belief and actions and accountability to just doing it.
Right.
I still find that the most fascinating thing and what I love about what we're going to do with this podcast is it's like we all have different programs and all different things because of the way we live our lives.
Mhm.
Um, but there's so many people that have done it in so many different ways.
So what are some of the things that you did to stay committed mentally? We talked about the physical,
Oh
but
yes.
how did you stay mentally accountable to everything you wanted to do?
Yeah, so going to mentally accountable. So this is a fun thing because I do this with a lot of people. I s- how often do we like this is what hurt me the most, and this is what hurts a lot of people at the beginning. Um, when we try to start getting into accountability, we I would sit there and every time you eat something wrong, you get on yourself.
Right.
Obviously, you
Mhm.
eat ice cream, you go at pizza, and afterwards you loved it at the time. Then as soon as you finish eating, you're just like, "Gosh, David, what did you do to yourself? Why'd you do that?" And there's a certain level that's good because you're trying to help yourself be accountable,
Right.
but at the same time, this is what I learned from neurolinguistic associations. You have to celebrate wins. You have to celebrate the good actions. It's like if every time a kid did something wrong, you slapped him, but every time he did something right, you didn't say anything.
Mhm.
That's how most people of us live. So what I did was I started to actually physically celebrate good moves. So I'm sitting in the cafeteria or whatever, eating a good meal. And I'm not kidding you. I would stand up and I go, David, good job. And I would literally high five myself and I would sit back down.
I love
I'd
that.
physically do it, celebrating good decisions.
Right.
And it made it feel positive. Like eating healthy felt good now
Right.
because I was actually physically celebrating it. Because most people, this was huge for me, because oftentimes when you start to try to lose weight,
Excuse
you
me.
eat healthy, and you're like, well, good, John, you're supposed to eat healthy. Duh. Well, that's not, doesn't feel good. And then every time you do something wrong, you just harp on yourself. So you're not going to commit to it because
Nope.
it doesn't feel good.
Nope.
It doesn't feel good. So that was huge for me, was celebrating every single time. Every time. If it was going to the gym, I would high five myself. I'd verbally say, David, great job. Like, I'm proud of you. Or if it was eating a grilled chicken salad instead of a pizza, what everyone else is doing, David,
Good job.
I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, physically getting on yourself and being your best cheerleader was so important to me.
But in that token, I mean, at least for me, I would do something very similar. I would always congratulate myself on the good thing, but then after that one congratulations, that was it. You
Mhm.
don't look back. You don't, because I had this mantra, and my best friend kind of helped me, utilize it. You shouldn't be congratulated for the things that you're supposed to be doing. So
Mhm.
like no one's going to congratulate you for breathing. You know what I mean? And no one's going to congratulate you for waking up today. You were supposed to do that. So when I started my journey, like, yes, it was a big deal. I'm finally doing these things to save my life, but you should be saving your own life anyway.
Mhm.
So it's that one congratulations, good job, you're doing it, but then that's it. We don't talk about it again
Mhm.
until the next time you do that good thing, because you're supposed to be doing this anyway. You follow
100%.
what I'm saying? At least
Yeah,
that's what kind of helped for me.
and that's what's so important is like different people, and at the same time, I need to be my best cheerleader, celebrating the wins, but at the same time, this is also huge because the first 100 pounds my weight loss,
Right.
all everyone saw of me was positive reinforcement.
Yes.
So like, for example, um all my social media posts, positive, positive, positive.
Mhm.
You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. I got this. Like, you can do it too. And it was all positive. But what's funny is, behind closed doors, I was also very hard on myself for the sake of like, hey, you need to step up. Like,
Right.
as an individual, you need to hold yourself to a better set of accountability, and you need to do this. And you need to stop taking excuses, stop taking other basically stop taking mysticism for things you can't control
Right.
for the reason why you're at where you're at. And what's funny is, when I started to bring that side of me on like political, like on my social media platforms, I started to say harsh truths and like getting on yourself. People resented it. It was kind of funny. Like, David, well, what about, and like, it's because they were so used to sunshine and rainbows from me,
Mhm.
that like when you actually bring out the behind closed doors, I was also very intentionally hard on myself, because growing up, I never got that.
No.
It was all sugar. It was all sunshine and rainbows. It was
Right.
always, my parents were, hey, you can do this. Even my friends, hey, you could do this. But that's not what I needed to hear.
No.
What I needed to hear was, David, you need to hold yourself accountable. Stop acting like a child that doesn't have control, and you need to do this.
Yeah.
But none of my friends and family would do it, so I had to do it for myself. And so there is that balance of yin and yang behind it, which makes it so interesting, because as soon as I brought that on my social media after a year of sunshine and rainbows,
Mhm.
of like, hey, guys, stop it. Like, stop. Some people were really resented it. It was just very interesting.
Yeah. No, I could see that, because people, they don't want to hear the harsh truths.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They want the good job, you got this, no matter what, you could do it. And yeah, you can. But you also need that little dose of reality, because
100%.
I mean, for me, you know, I was overweight my whole entire life. So I had doctors literally look me in the eye at like 10 years old and tell me, hey, John, you're not going to live to see your 13th birthday. Like, you need to change your life. And I'd say, yeah, I'm going to do it. I got this. I'm on Weight Watchers. And then I would have a Costco-sized box of Rice Krispie treats that I
Oh
would eat
yeah.
in secret. And this is a true story. I would eat the Rice Krispie treats. I would throw the wrappers behind my washing machine in my basement so no one knew that I was eating them.
I
And
got a
then,
great story.
so I was like maybe 13, 14 at the time. When I turned, and this is no joke, when I turned like 17 years old, the washing machine broke. They finally removed the washing machine from where it was, and there was all the wrappers. I had never gotten yelled at so bad in my whole entire
Oh my
life
gosh.
that I was sneaking the food behind people's back. And that was what my parents were mostly mad about. Like, you snuck it behind our back because you obviously felt bad about doing it.
Hmm.
Like, you wouldn't necessarily have been reprimanded, but you felt the need that you had to take this upon yourself to hide and eat. Like, there's something wrong with that. So that's just, that was just something that I had to get through.
And
So
it's the
I
same
really
thing.
want to hear your story.
I literally had the same one where because we had this huge house and I always had the friends over and all this kind of stuff. Um, we had this huge candy area we had a walk-in pantry. It was a big pantry, and all this, we had a candy section. Well, what I would do was I would take a bunch of candy in my room.
Mhm.
I would put the wrappers in a drawer. And then as soon as the wrappers got to a certain level, like I filled the drawer completely and it was trash day, I would take all the wrappers from the drawer and I would go to the trash can. I would lift off a couple things from the trash. I would shove in
Yeah.
all of the wrappers that I was eating, and then I put a little bit of trash on top so no one knew how much I was eating as well.
Right.
And it's just crazy. Like, we all do this, like
Yeah.
pocket eating, like behind closed doors. If I could say anything about what's just going on, if you're listening to this right now, we did every trick on the book that you think you're so slick at that's kind of helping you in the situation. It's only hurting you.
Yeah.
But it's
you're fooling
hysterical.
yourself. Yeah, you're only fooling yourself.
You're only fooling yourself.
And it's going to take you to realize that. Like, people could shove it in your face all the time and tell you what you're doing wrong, but it's not until that you decide that you need to accept it, and that's when you could change it.
100%.
So we've been recording now for hold on one second, my stopwatch stopped. We are officially recording for 41 minutes.
Yes.
Why don't you take us through, two more tools, and then we'll wrap this up. For
100%. So tools. So the biggest thing for me that's helped me be accountable by beyond shadow of doubt. I'm excited to build something as well in the future with it, but MyFitnessPal changed my life. Just calorie counting to the point where it's whatever system you want to use, but systemizing just how you use a debit card and you have a bank account for all the money you spend, and you look back at all your spending and it's like, ooh, where's my money going? All this kind of stuff. Do the same thing with your eating. It helped me out immensely where I use MyFitnessPal, and everything calorically that I eat, I put it in the app. And then whether that's just an accountability up front, what I really like about it with the accountability side is it's undenying.
Right.
It's no one can justify it. No one can pay, like you put it in there and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like you can't lie about it. And so getting accountable and just like to the point where everything that goes in your mouth, you put in the app, it gives you a frame of reference of exactly what you're eating. So you know what you're doing. Right. And maybe at the beginning, you don't even change anything yet. Other than the fact of that's how it was for me. I just wrote down and used the app to put everything that I was putting in my body in the app. And it got me to the point where you only put Snickers bar so many times. It's like, I got to put Snickers bar in. If I'm looking at the Snickers and I'm like, if I eat this Snickers, I got to put it in the app. And I don't want to put it in the app. So I'm just not going to eat this Snickers. And it helped me. It helped me because it's an unrelenting accountability partner. That's just you just do.
You're not gonna like it at first.
You're not gonna like it at first. You're gonna hate it at first.
Yeah.
But it gives you a general understanding of like, oh my gosh, this is my calories I'm eating a day. Holy moly! Like you just have no idea the amount of calories you're actually ingesting, most likely to be at the position you're in.
Yeah, especially when you're at that point where you don't care. And you haven't made that switch yet. The switch hasn't went off in your head. And you are just, it doesn't matter what's in front of you. You're putting it in your mouth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then when you finally log it and it gives you that calculation of how much you're eating a day, I swear to God, it's gonna blow your mind. Like
I
it's
thought I was
going,
eating 2,500, maybe 3,000 calories. No, I
and
was eating like 8,000 calories a day.
yeah. If you're sitting there right now and you're listening to this and you are, somewhere where I once was, and you're, around that 480 mark, that 500 mark, or maybe you're above, and you've never tracked your calories, you're in for it. Like
Mhm.
you are really in for it. When you finally decide, okay, enough is enough. I really want to see what it is that I'm consuming in a day. You better strap in, because that number is gonna blow your mind.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Like, but then what it did for me as well is it gives you a non-mystical number,
Yeah.
because it's no longer mysticism of like, I don't know why I'm at where I'm at, like
Yeah.
I shouldn't be there. And it really gives you a sense of like, wow, okay, well, that's something I could change. Like,
Yeah.
that's something feasible. So that's number one. Track your calories, track your macros, track what you're eating in a day.
Yeah.
Helps mentally. Number two, I would say drink a gallon of water a day.
Life changing.
Period.
Life changing.
End of discussion.
Yeah.
It is crazy scientifically. It's crazy all the different. When you just get in the habit of drinking a gallon of water a day, you feel better. You have better
Mhm.
energy levels. You're not as hungry
Mhm.
as often. And so that would be one more tool that I would just implement day one.
Yeah.
Just drink a gallon. Don't argue. Well, what if I'm gonna just do it?
That's
Just,
one of the first things that I did.
mm-hmm.
That was one of the first things that Steve made me do, was get in that gallon of water a day. And then there was a point where I was doing 2 gallons of water a day, and I felt incredible. And I
Mm-hmm.
need to get myself back to that point, because just everything felt amazing. My joints didn't hurt. I didn't wake up and want to go back to bed. You know what I mean? Like, I felt vigorous. I felt alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy what just simply drinking water, not even
Yeah.
adding anything to it.
Just
Forget about
water.
the lemon, forget about the mint, forget about adding anything. Drink the water, and it literally just, I don't know, it's like a well-oiled machine. You make your body into this functioning like,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy how much we don't drink
Well, it's
in a
just like
society.
most people live in a constant state of dehydration. They're just
Hmm.
completely unaware of it. Because of the fast pace of today and all this kind of stuff, we just don't drink the water that we used to.
Yeah.
And you want to know the 3 top symptoms of chronic state of dehydration?
Tell me.
Lack of energy, lack of focus, fat retention.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like me. And I, I put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just easy. It's easy to go from not drinking to being on top of the drinking to losing it again, because I've been there. I've done the up and down
Mm-hmm.
with the water and the intake of the water, and it's something that you need to be conscious of, because it's so life changing what
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit more water in your diet can do for you.
And it's
So
so
if you're not,
simple.
yeah, it's so easy. I
Well,
mean,
I
we
don't know.
take water for granted.
Exactly. You're just like, well, David, what food should I be eating? How many macros should I be eating? Drink a gallon of water. Well, how much is a gallon? A gallon? Drink a gallon.
Drink a gallon a day.
But what kind of water? Drink a gallon of water a day.
I hate that question too, by the way. The what kind of water? No, go to your faucet. If you don't know what kind of water, turn that bitch on cold and fill up a cup of water.
Drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can argue a little bit here and there of what water is better for you, but
Right. But you're not at that level yet.
Let's just drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, those would be the 2 tools that I would implement right today that can create the compound effect. You just understand the food you're eating every single day, and you drink a gallon of water a day. You do that every single day for a year, you'd be blown away by how much your body changes.
I like that. I like that a lot, David. I like that a lot. Thank you, by the way, for sharing your story today, because there was some stuff that I had no idea about, and we've been cracking this for 7 months.
Yep.
And I've never known that. And we've done three podcasts now together. The one that made us come together and want to start something bigger than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded last week's episode, and now this. And yeah, I like this experience. I like learning about each other and where this is going to go. I think this is awesome. So thank you again. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to actually be in the seat of asking the questions on the podcast and not receiving the questions on the podcast, because it's a lot of fun. I liked it. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's fun, and it just goes to show you that you never know someone's story, and but it's the relatability, the authenticity of what this podcast is going to be in the future is by far the most important piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And
leave us with one thing, if you want to put a whole bow on this.
One bow for the whole thing. I would say for anyone listening to this right now, number one, celebrate the fact that you just listened to this whole podcast.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I would recommend to you is implement one thing you heard. I don't care what it is. I would say probably between the calories and drinking a gallon of water a day. But make sure that this podcast from here and to the future is not entertainment. This isn't for entertainment. Right. This is for you to actually take accountability, to change some of the decisions and actions in your life. And so what I'd recommend to you is choose one. I don't know if it's the gallon of water a day, do it. If it's the calorie counting and seeing where you're at, do it. But do something, implement something. And that's what I recommend.
And let us know what you're doing. If you take anything from these podcasts, definitely let us know what it is you're taking from them and how you're implementing them in your life. Yes. I would definitely like to hear some feedback on that.
Yeah, so
and tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we're going to have our ALG podcasts everywhere and all our social media there. That's where we primarily want you. We have some tools coming out here in the future that's going to be really freaking cool.
Yeah.
If you're looking for that accountability group, if you're looking for that constant communication, that you have a support system, we got something special brewing for you guys. Just want to jab at that again because I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, and then honestly, send us the DM, send us anything. Honestly, just get us communication. We're real, authentic people, and we're here to actually make change with every single person we get in contact with. The amount of DMs I get saying, "I hope you get this," or "I hope you respond." It's like, if I read it, I'm going to respond.
I'm going to respond all the time. Yeah, that's something with me too. I respond literally to every DM. Which maybe I shouldn't do that, but I really do. I reach back to everyone who reaches out to me. So please shoot me those DMs. By the time this episode hits air, we should have the Accountability Life Group Instagram up and running. So you can definitely contact the both of us there, and you can contact us on our individual Instagrams. And next week, we will have a guest for the first time, someone really incredible. I don't want to give too much away, but I do consider him the guru of keto. So if you know me, you know my group of friends, you might know who this is. So stick around. This is just getting started. And yeah, we're going to have a good one.
All righty,
Enjoy your day, everybody.
Peace.